Our revenge'll be the laughter of our children.
They're coming tonight.
Bobby Sands wrote from his cell. Between 1969 and 1998, more than 3,500 people were killed in Northern Ireland. Over 47,000 were injured. Bombings, shootings, internment, hunger strikes, political negotiations, all unfolding across nearly 3 decades. The conflict became known simply as the Troubles. It was not a conventional war. It was not a single rebellion. It was a prolonged struggle over sovereignty, identity, and civil rights, fought in cities, neighborhoods, and sometimes across streets measured in meters. Northern Ireland had been created in 1921, after the partition of Ireland. It remained part of the United Kingdom, with a Protestant unionist majority that supported continued union with Britain. A Catholic nationalist minority generally favored Irish unity. By the late 1960s, tensions centered on civil rights. Catholic communities protested discrimination in housing allocation, employment, and voting structures. In 1968 and 1969, civil rights marches were met with counter-protests and police force. Riots broke out in Derry and Belfast. Violence escalated. In August 1969, British troops were deployed to Northern Ireland. The deployment was initially presented as temporary stabilization. It became a long-term military presence. In 1970, the Provisional Irish Republican Army, or IRA, emerged from a split in the Republican movement. Its stated objective was to end British rule in Northern Ireland and achieve Irish reunification through armed struggle. Loyalist paramilitary groups also organized, aiming to defend Northern Ireland's place within the United Kingdom. Bombings and shootings increased. In 1971, the British government introduced internment without trial. Hundreds were detained. The policy intensified nationalist anger and recruitment into paramilitary organizations. On January 30th, 1972, British soldiers shot 26 unarmed civilians during a civil rights march in Derry. 14 people died. The event became known as Bloody Sunday. The conflict escalated sharply afterward. That same year, the British government suspended Northern Ireland's parliament and imposed direct rule from London. Throughout the 1970s, violence became routine. Car bombs detonated in Belfast and London. Sectarian killings targeted civilians based on religious identity. Assassinations struck police officers, soldiers, and political figures. Entire neighborhoods became front lines. In 1981, Republican prisoners launched a hunger strike demanding political status. One of them was Bobby Sands. During the strike, Sands was elected to the British Parliament while still imprisoned. He died on May 5th, 1981, after 66 days without food. 9 other prisoners died during the hunger strike. From prison, Sands wrote words that would echo across the conflict.
To have nothing in their whole imperial arsenal that can break the spirit of one Irishman who doesn't want to be broken.
The hunger strikes reshaped Republican strategy. Political participation began to accompany armed struggle. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, quiet contacts between the British government and Republican representatives increased. Violence continued, but negotiation channels widened. One of the strongest advocates for a political solution was John Hume, leader of the Social Democratic and Labour Party. Hume rejected both sectarian nationalism and violent unionism. He argued that peace required practical coexistence. In speeches during the peace process, he warned against symbolic politics replacing real solutions.
You cannot aid a flag.
But Hume also framed the conflict in broader moral terms.
Difference is the essence of humanity. Difference is an accident of birth, and it should therefore never be the source of hatred or conflict. The answer to difference is to respect it. Therein lies a most fundamental principle of peace: respect for diversity.
In 1994, the IRA declared a ceasefire. Loyalist paramilitary groups followed. Negotiations began in earnest. The process was fragile. Talks stalled repeatedly, but momentum slowly grew. On April 10, 1998, the Good Friday Agreement was signed. The agreement created a power-sharing government in Northern Ireland. It affirmed the principle that Northern Ireland's constitutional status would be determined by democratic consent, and it established cross-border institutions linking Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. Unionist leader David Trimble, one of the key signatories, defended the compromise. He said,
"The agreement represents the best way forward for all the people of Northern Ireland."
British Prime Minister Tony Blair addressed the moment as well.
The people of Northern Ireland have chosen hope over fear.
The agreement did not erase division. It created a framework to govern within it. Paramilitary decommissioning followed gradually. The Provisional IRA formally ended its armed campaign in 2005. Power-sharing institutions were suspended and restored multiple times in the years that followed. Peace did not arrive as a single moment. It arrived slowly, imperfectly. The Troubles did not end with a battlefield surrender. They ended through negotiated consent, constitutional change, and public referenda in both Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. The conflict reshaped policing, constitutional law, and British-Irish relations. It also left unresolved memory. More than 3,500 dead, thousands injured, generations raised among checkpoints, patrols, and armored vehicles. The Troubles were not defined solely by ideology. They were defined by duration and by the slow recognition that no side could secure absolute victory without permanent loss. The agreement endures, so do the divisions. But in the words of Irish poet Seamus Heaney, reflecting on the long search for peace,
"History says, don't hope on this side of the grave. But then, once in a lifetime, the longed-for tidal wave of justice can rise up, and hope and history rhyme."
For a moment in 1998, in Northern Ireland, hope and history did.